Hiya, my name is Jess and welcome to my channel, Have a Look at This. Today I'm going to be reviewing and discussing with you To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. To All the Boys I've Loved Before follows Lara Jean, who for every boy that she has ever loved or had a crush on, she writes a letter. And these letters are never intended to be sent, they're just her way of gaining closure. She writes all of her feelings out and then envelopes it and sticks it in a hat box under her bed. However, one day all 5 letters are sent out to the boys that she wrote them to, and Lara Jean has to deal with the consequences, which is some pretty bad consequences, especially considering one of the boys that she wrote the letter to is her sister's ex-boyfriend, Josh. I'm going to kind of do like a little mini spoiler-free review first before getting deeper into spoilers, so if you haven't read To All the Boys I've Loved Before, don't worry, I'll let you know when things are going to get all spoilery up in here. The other book I'm reading at the moment is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which is like a super dark book, so I picked this one up like hoping to kind of just find something that would really balance that out, and I got exactly what I wanted. It's just such a light, easy, lovely read. This is the first book I've ever read by Jenny Han, but I did actually really enjoy her writing style. It's simple, but it's not simple in a bad or boring way. It just flows really naturally, and whilst it is, you know, a kind of a romance centric story, she still manages to bring in some really serious elements into her writing, such as diversity and feminism, and she does it in a way that doesn't feel like preachy, if you know what I mean. It just sort of feels natural. Another thing that was great about Jenny Han's writing is that family and family dynamics is clearly something that's really important to her. Lara Jean has 2 sisters, Margot who's older and Kitty who's younger, and their relationship, as well as the one that they all share with their widowed dad, was really important to the book, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the way that the sister dynamics were explored. It felt super realistic and down to earth, which is really nice because I feel like sometimes in YA romance it's all about the romance, and obviously romance was the main part of this book, but I was really surprised, like pleasantly surprised, at just how big a role family played, and I thought that was brilliantly pulled off by Jenny Han. And the boys in this book were also pretty great. They were flawed, but I just felt like that made for a better, more realistic romance. Not that this is like the most... The boys in this book were great too. Suitably YA boy romance worthy. Well done on that, Jenny Han. I love Peter Kavinsky so much. As I mentioned earlier, I also thought it was brilliant how Jenny Han touched on more serious topics. Lara Jean is half Korean, and whilst I feel like we are getting more diversity in YA, it's very rare that I'll pick up a book where the main character, her or himself, is a diverse character, and that was really great to see. Okay, so criticisms. First of all, I do feel like the plot was a little bit predictable in places. It didn't really lessen my enjoyment of the story that much, but it's definitely, you know, if you're looking for like a big mystery, this isn't going to give you that. Also, Lara Jean's voice did kind of annoy me a little at first. It felt quite young. She's 16, but it sometimes felt like it was more sort of a 13-year-old talking. But I was pleased to see that that did kind of wear off as the story developed more and more, which was nice because you could sort of see with her voice how that character was growing. And lastly, my criticism is that sometimes Jenny Han did give in to a little bit of stereotyping. Mean girl character in this, Genevieve, didn't really have that much to her, and I don't know, I wanted more of a motive from Genevieve than we got. Overall though, I thoroughly enjoyed this read. If you've watched films, sort of the early 2000 teen romance films like She's All That, 10 Things I Hate About You, this is essentially that in book form, which is absolutely amazing because I love those films. They are my favourite films to watch when I'm having a bad day, and this book was just, it very much had the same effect on me. I was smiling, I was like giggling, I was laughing, it was so cute. Yeah, if you want to read like an early 2000s teen rom-com in book form, this is definitely a great one to pick up, and I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars, and before I'd even finished it I'd rushed to the library to see if they had the sequel, which they do. That's another good thing about this book. Not only does it have a follow-up, Jenny Han fairly recently revealed that she's also writing a 3rd book in the series, so this is going to be a trilogy, which is really lovely. I think that's all I can say without spoiling you, so if you have not read To All the Boys I've Loved Before, now would be a good time to leave, but thank you very much for watching and goodbye. Okay, so a slightly more spoilery issue that I did have with To All the Boys I Loved Before is I feel like sometimes the characters kind of lacked motive. First example of this being Kitty. So I knew right away that it was Kitty that had sent out those letters. I didn't really think that there was any other person that could have sent out the letters. There was literally nobody else in her house other than Margot and her dad, and just, you know, neither of them would have done it, so it was quite obviously Kitty. And her reasons for doing it, I mean, I did feel really embarrassed on Kitty's behalf when Lara Jean was sort of teasing her about Josh, but I don't know, you know, I don't think it was a good enough reason for her to do something as drastic as sending out some of Lara Jean's most personal belongings. It just seemed absolutely ridiculous and uncalled for. And I was also really surprised that Lara Jean was surprised to find out that it was Kitty, because, like, who else did she think it could be? Second example being Genevieve. I mean, I guess I don't really know Genevieve, so I'm not in like a massive position to judge her. Like I said in the non-spoilery section, I do really wish we'd got to see more of her character, but it just felt really unprecedented, kind of the cruelty with Lara Jean. Especially when she was spreading around that rumour with the hot tub. The hot tub, it was just so ridiculous. Like, honestly, why would you spread something like that around? I mean, I do think Lara Jean's reaction was a bit, you know, much. I mean, I was really glad that Jenny Han used it as an opportunity to address, like, slut shaming and how it's always so much difficult for the girl to deal with something like that, and it is the boy. But I do feel like Lara Jean was kind of over dramatic. Like, you know, the initial reaction, fair enough, but I feel like she should have sort of realised, you know, I didn't do it. If they think I did it, then fine, but I know that I didn't. Peter knows that I didn't. People that I care about know that I didn't, so there's just no point overreacting. Let Genevieve get to her, and she shouldn't have done, because she just, you can't let a mean girl get to you. All advice with Jess. On to something a bit nicer. Peter Kavinsky. I absolutely loved Peter so much. I was really, like, you know, holding out hope when I went in for this that Jenny Han would craft a really lovely love interest, and she did. He's very St. Clair-ish, like from Anna and the French Kiss, very Etienne St. Clair. I did actually really like Peter. I know that people were kind of divided on him. Some people found him kind of arrogant, and he was kind of arrogant. I liked that he was flawed. It made him more believable. I mean, he was still pretty unbelievable, but it made him more believable. I liked him a lot more than Josh, who just felt like the biggest jerk. He was so possessive of the sisters. There were so many points where this book just like made me want to squeal from cuteness as well. The notes that Peter was writing Lara Jean was so adorable, and I also loved getting to read Lara Jean's letters. Even before that, when she just runs up to him in the hallway and kisses him just to prove to Josh, I found that bit so funny. I could see it, like it felt like a movie scene in my head. It did literally feel like a scene out of a teen movie, and I loved it so much. One letter I would have liked to read that I didn't get to read is that last letter. Oh my god, that ending was so unsatisfying. I feel like so many YA contemporaries try and do this thing where they finish before the story is ready to finish, and I don't want that. You know, when I go into this kind of book, I just want pure happy endings, like people skipping, holding hands, you know, romances happening. I don't want to be left on a cliffhanger. I mean, I guess it's a good thing that I've got the sequel, otherwise I would be so upset. I want to read that letter that Lara Jean wrote Peter so badly. I think I pretty much said all that I can say about this book. Like I said, I thought it was super enjoyable. It wasn't the deepest, most life-changing read, but then it doesn't have to be. It annoys me so much when like books like this and Anna and the French Kiss are written off for being a YA romance, because I just feel like, you know, happy reading, like reading that helps me escape for a while, is just so underrated, and this was really, really wonderful. And I really want to get not just to the sequels in this, but also to Jenny Han's other series, Summer I Turn Pretty series. I'd love to read that as well. Thank you so much for watching this review, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.